What's happening, everybody? How's everybody doing out there? Bad Brad going live, impromptu musician chat. Welcome. We're gonna crack a little water. We're gonna hydrate. It's a very warm day here in Florida, and it's very important to hydrate. So, it's very important to hydrate, and I was just letting my wife know that I'm out here trying to go live, and they're in there cackling and arguing and everything. But it's been a very busy weekend. Today we went to Marineland as a family, and that was cool. And so I'm here now. I told the wife I'm going to go live for a little bit. Hey, Bad Brad, what's happening, Nick? What's happening? Thanks, brother. Thank you. How you doing, Nick? Trying to hydrate. So we're here in Florida. You can see we got a nice breeze blowing. I got a little bit of shade going, and I figured with the craziness that's going on in the world, you know, just being able to get on here and talk about music, talk about guitars, and talk about the stuff that really matters, right? Because if you're a musician, that's all that matters in the world is music, right? You know, and it's a crazy, crazy world. How's the transition going? David, the transition is going as planned. The operation will proceed as planned, sir. Dear sir. Yeah, we are in the process now. This week, we are going to close on our house. And that means we'll be able to get in somewhere that's ours, right? Because we're in these temporary digs, and I love this patio, so I don't know how I'm going to recreate this vibe that I've got back here. I love this with these, you know, tropical plants and everything growing in the background. But yeah, this week we are moving into our place. I'm so excited because I'm going to get my guitars out of this hot garage that they're in right now, and be able to set them up, plug them in, make some sounds, and you know, work on my content there. But you know, I really miss being able to plug my guitar in and just play, man. You know, this has been a hard transition. I haven't played much this week. I tried to practice every day a little bit to keep the chops up. But Jeff, I've never picked up a guitar unless it was to hand it to someone, put it under the bus, was about just every genre for 32 years. Yes, we've got Jeff McCardle here. Now, Jeff is a guy from my area of the country, and he was a bus driver for many, many years. Drove Bela Fleck and the Flecktones and the Wooten Brothers, and you know, a lot of my good friends around. And he's got, I'm sure, some amazing touring stories, more stories than I have. I think he said he had more platinum and gold records than I do, because I mean, when you take care of an artist like that, and you're driving somebody, and when you're a bus driver, you really have the artist's life in your hands, and so it's such an important job that often, you know, good drivers, they're valued greatly, and they're often rewarded with platinum records. So if you've driven 6 or 7 different artists around for many years, I mean, it would be nothing to have 10 or 20 platinum and gold records. So, Jeff, I'm happy to have you here and to make your acquaintance through this group of musicians that we have here, the compadres, the weekend warriors. Now, if you haven't noticed, in the description of my videos now, there is links to some t-shirts. You can help the channel out greatly by purchasing a t-shirt. Now, the 4th t-shirt, usually you can see 3 in the description, but the 4th one is a really cool shirt. It's got like a silhouette of me from behind. It's a live shot with the guitar over my head, and it says Weekend Warrior on it. So you can't really tell it's me, but you can tell it's a guy going like that with the guitar. And that's a really cool shirt, but you have to click on the actual shirt to see the graphic, because I don't know, Teespring, it's a little wonky. Their site's a little wonky, but they do make really good t-shirts. And so we've got 2 different Weekend Warrior shirts. And I just wanted to do something, selling Bad Brad shirts. I mean, I realize I'm not Tim Pierce and I'm not Pete Thorne or any of those guys. But, I wanted to do something to celebrate all of us, because this is a camaraderie of musicians that watch this channel, and bus drivers and drummers and bass players and everybody that tunes in. I've made so many contacts through this YouTube channel, and I've made so many, people from the past that have found me on here, and it's just amazing. It's really amazing, and how I've put all this work into this YouTube channel, and it's starting to turn into something. But the best part of it is the friendships, and the stories that you guys give me. Holding down the couch, Jurassic bassist here, Blastmaster. What's up, brother? Holding down the couch. Yes, indeed. I'm holding down the bench right now. I'm on the bench musically. Once I get in this house, at least I'll be able to plug in my stuff and get sound. That would be big for me, when I can actually have my studio kind of up and running, and then get back to doing my air gigs. Now, if anybody out there needs guitar tracks, I have an account on Air Gigs. It's in the description of my channel. I'd love to play on your songs. If you want, me to play on your music, I'd love to do it. I have an Air Gigs profile, and I have a couple different options. As far as, I think I have a basic one where I would just put 2 tracks on your songs, and then there's I think a deluxe version where I'll just put whatever it needs. And I always, on my air gigs, I always go above and beyond. Look, when you're producing music, when you're recording, I like to give the producer or whoever's mixing, I like to give them options. People that produce music, people that mix, they want options. And why do I say that? They want options. Say, look, love your playing, you keeping that old flame burning. Thank you. T. Lindsay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, we're talking, what is up, everyone? X5 Podcast, Superstar. Hey, I checked out your podcast, bro. It's amazing. It's amazing. Man, this guy, he gets big time people on his channel, man. And let me tell you something, man, it was an honor. He to grace our podcast last time, and made a huge donation with the super chat to this channel. So shout out to X5. Everybody that watches this, check out his channel as well. And while you're at it, everybody smash that like button. Everybody, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're just getting going. We're just getting fired up. But I was talking about playing, studio stuff. Like, I'm from the mindset. Good afternoon, Joe Wentz. What's up, brother? South Carolina. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Joe. Joe is the man. We've got so many dedicated people that watch this channel now and wait for the stories. And man, I'll still be putting out my playing videos and some demo videos and instructional videos, and talking about what I'm doing and stuff like that. But people really like the narrative stories, right? Because one, everybody that'll tell you, I've had so many people before I even did this YouTube channel say, man, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And I thought about it, and I think writing a book would be a lot like X5. Oh God. God bless the X5. Dude, you are a god. Hey, everybody, go subscribe to X5 Podcast. Because let me tell you something. He's got some of the most best guests. I mean, he just had Steve-O on the other day. I mean, dude, I want this channel to blow up, and I want to come on X5, and I'll save some really juicy stories. Holy moly. Yes. y'all give it up to X5. He's got an amazing channel. He's got a lot of eyes on that channel, a lot of people watching it, and this is twice now that he has blessed me with his presence. Thank you so much, sir. So we're getting back, good guy. Yes, he is a good guy. We're getting back to talking about playing on somebody's songs. And, especially in this new digital world where you're doing tracks at home and maybe the producer's not over your, thank you, Joe. And thank you, X5 again. Thank you, sir. When you're playing on somebody's stuff, right, and there's not a producer over your shoulder, or they're not giving you, maybe they're not giving you feedback. Maybe they're just, so I'll say, look, if they're not directly telling you what they want on it, I will make sure that they have options, right? I will make sure that I go, look, here are some clean guitar parts. Here are some crunchy guitar parts. Here's a couple different options for solos. And again, they can then splice if they want a first half of this, second half of this, they can do that. And then I'll give them some ambient type stuff, right? Tons of verb, tons of echo, and yeah, X5 is awesome, man. He's just incredible. I'll give them like all these different sounds, right? So that then when the producer gets it or whoever's mixing it gets the tracks, he's got a lot of different things to choose from. Yes, we salute the ultimate weekend warrior, X5. Man, he is awesome. He is awesome. So is there anybody have any questions out there or anything, topics that you want to talk about? Because what we're doing right here is we are talking about music and guitars because the rest of the world is full of a bunch of idiots. Now, I've got a 3-year-old daughter at my old ass of 57 years old, right? And, I'll be constantly going, that guy's an idiot. Or I'll be driving and go, these people are idiots. So she'll be in the backseat goes, he's an idiot. It's absolutely hilarious. Oh, man, I tell you what, this Florida heat, it takes something to get used to. And it's, California, it has its, it has its heat, it's desert type heat, but it doesn't have the humidity. Florida has the humidity. So Florida is kicking my what as far as the heat goes. But, we're acclimating as best as we can here. And again, I told, hey, Brad deserves all the good things. Joe Wentz, thank you so much. Yes, I am grinding hard on this channel. I shot 2 videos this morning. I get up. So, it's hard having, a 3-year-old. We have Zach Wild and Glenn Hughes coming in next month. I mean, dude, I want to come up and co-host sometime. Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to do that. You guys like in Alabama or something like that, right? I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I would love to do that sometime. That would be amazing. I'll have to save some juicy stories. Do you have any advice for an up-and-coming songwriter, hired gun, or where to put their time and energy? Okay, well, first of all, Nick, where are you located? Because that makes a big difference. Songwriter, hired gun. I would say, I gave some advice one time. I had somebody come up to me and said, oh, my friend son is a guitar player in Alabama. We will fly you in. Hey, I'm down, bro. I'm down. Weekends, though. I got to do weekends. I'm a weekend warrior these days. Oh, Nashville. So, Nick, you're in Nashville. Okay. Nick, you need to, if you're just starting out in Nashville, you need to do every single gig you can for whatever peanuts they offer you. That's what you do at first. So I plugged your channel on Pete's Live Sunday. Thank you, Earl. I will share it with other groups as well. Thank you so much. I would love to be on Pete Thorne's thing. That would be incredible. I'm a huge fan. Look, I'm a student of YouTube. I watch YouTube. That's all I watch. Okay? Great to see your passion for the art. Yes, indeed. Heat stroke, been in keys 45 years. Yes. So getting back to what I would tell Nick as far as getting started. Meet as many musicians as you can. Nick, go down to Broadway. Meet as many people as you can. Make sure you can sing. Make sure you know songs. The most important thing you can do as a musician is not learning licks, is not learning, how to tap and sweep and all that kind of stuff. The best thing you can do is learn songs. And I tell you what, that was advice that was given to me when I went to GIT. And GIT was the place where you got to learn how to do all this stuff, right? But you the lesson that I probably didn't listen to as much as I should was learn songs. Les Wise was one of my favorite teachers there, and he was a guitar player, and he opened some doors for me as far as playing goes, and some things to do to kind of incorporate some of the jazz elements and stuff like that in my playing. But the one thing that he said is, man, just learn tunes. If you know songs, you can play gigs, right? And there's so many guys that don't know that, or they don't do it, and they get on gigs and they don't know songs. And you just absolutely have to know as many songs. Now, there is a Broadway song list. I've seen it posted in the past. Hired Gun. I have seen that Hired Gun documentary. I will comment on that in a minute. I've watched that maybe twice, right? Learn songs, Nick. Meet as many people as you can. Offer to give somebody a break. Say, hey, man, I'm a guitar player. I'm a songwriter. Talk to as many people as you can. Can you recommend a song played to standards for the Nashville scene? Roseanne Cash was given list by the father. 100 must-know songs. Yeah, sing. Make sure you can sing backups and a few songs. Like, part of the reason why I worked as long as I did in Nashville, and I never really did the Broadway scene. I was more of an R&B player and a funk player and corporate and this and that, but I would get called to do country tours because they knew I would learn the parts and I would show up and I would do a good job, and they knew I would be on time. All of that stuff. All of that is very important. Being on time for gigs, learning songs. When they give you a list, now I can't recommend a specific list because it's always evolving and it's always changing down there. But like I would join some of the groups on Facebook, Nashville musicians, there's Broadway musicians, there's some different ones, and reach out. Whatever, if you're a guitar player, reach out to a guy like Jason Jordan. He's a guy probably around my age, and he plays all of those Broadway gigs, and he's a real chicken picking SOB, right? And so that guy is somebody that I would recommend, to reach out, somebody like that. But learn songs, be able to sing, be able to, sing lead on a few songs, sing backups. Learn the material before you go to a gig. Get the list of songs, and they're out there. There are Broadway's lists. There is an app called iReel, and that is an app that I use to learn songs. Okay, so iReel. I would play mostly Weekend Warrior stuff towards the end of my stay in Nashville. Air gigs. Yeah, air gigs is where I do my recording sessions. So if you want to hire me to play on your songs, you can click on the link. Hey, John, what's happening, brother? Yeah, if you want me to play on one of your songs, you can hire me on air gigs. And I usually, within a couple of days, now, I'm in transition this week, so if everybody sends me requests for songs this week, what's happening, John? If everybody sends me a request this week, I might get behind. But yeah, usually within a couple days, I've got your tracks and I send them on. And like I said, I'll give you options. I'll give you different looks. So that would be my best advice. Alexander, what's happening? How you doing? That would be my advice to someone getting started. But I did tell somebody once, they told me, well, any advice for my friend's teenage son who wants to come to Nashville and be a guitar player? And I said, you know what my advice is? My advice is to stay in school, marry your high school sweetheart, and get a good trade. That was my advice. Thanks, Nick. Thank you. I hope that helps. I hope that helps, man. Learn as many, but that I was saying that iReel app. Now that's what I used because I was having to play a lot of, maybe an hour of jazz standards a night, and then having to play all these like Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes and stuff like that with a bunch of different chord changes in it. And the way that I would, learn songs quickly, because if I got the chord changes, then I can usually figure out what the guitar part is, and it's quick. And then I've got the paper, and I show up on the gig, and I know the chord changes. So iReel is an app that I use. Now, there may be other apps that the songwriters, because I notice everybody's got a little iPad or an iPhone with a little holder on their thing. And the reason for that is that there's just no way to know every song in the universe. But man, if you can know a good 100 to 200 to 300 songs, man, you work all the time. You work all the time down there if you want. Always play at the right volume for the gig. That's another good piece of advice. But now talking about the Hired Gun documentary, it's been a while since I watched that. But, for one of the main focuses in that documentary was Liberty DeVito, the drummer, the hard-hitting drummer for Billy Joel. And that part of the story really touched me and hit me hard because I saw Billy Joel on the Stranger Tour. I saw Billy Joel on the Glass Houses tour. I'm not quitting my truck driving day job just yet. Hey, man, I don't recommend anybody quit anything. Do whatever works for you. But, Liberty DeVito getting canned from the Billy Joel gig. And I know the heartbreak of getting fired from a gig. It'll happen to every one of us, right, at one time. Even if you're the best guy on the gig, even if you're the best player on the stage, even if you're the perfect employee, there's always Brutus coming up behind your back. I watched the live walk on Broadway last night. It looked like a tourist show. Nashville's changed, but yeah, Earl, it's crazy, man. I'm too old to mess with that. What's up, Scott? I'm too old to mess with that, and it's not really safe. Imagine when I'm leaving a gig, I've got $2,000 or $3,000 of guitars on my back because I carry 2 guitars. You always have a backup for your gear. There's another tip for the hired guns. Always have a backup for everything. So 2 guitars, a pedal board, and an amp, right? And then I always have some kind of backup little small, battery-powered amp or something that would be in my gig bag in case the amp fails. So that's a key piece of advice because, man, you know who they look at when your gear fails? They look at you. They don't look at the amp. They don't look at the guitar. They don't look at the cable. If your amp is going, always have, and watch your volume. Now, if you're there now, you know that there's whole sides of the street where you're not even allowed to bring an amp in. It's all modelers and stuff like that. But Earl is right. It's crazy down there in Nashville. But getting back to hired gun. I never played in Baltimore. Yeah, dude. Let me tell you a story. We'll get back to hired gun another time. So, a musician, a guitar player, I had heard, had been robbed in Nashville. A young guy, right? Seemed like a good kid, right? And they had took his guitar, they took his pedal board, they took his amp. And this guy was paying his bills, playing gigs. He was a Broadway player, but he had been robbed leaving his gig, right? So I caught wind of it, and because of all the touring and stuff that I had done, and often you would get gear, you would get guitars and stuff for free, or I had tons of parts casters, man. I still have a lot of guitars, but I've scaled down a lot. But I had all these parts casters, and they're great guitars, but they're not really worth a lot if you try to sell them. If anybody's experienced that, they're not. You can't get the money back that you put into them. But I see this kid's been robbed, and he doesn't have a Strat. He's a Strat player, and I'm a Strat player. And yes, well, Blastmaster, that was one thing that I wasn't gonna carry personally. Now might keep it under my bed, but that's a whole nother story. You need to, this kid got his stuff stolen, right? So I reached out to him on Facebook, beaten, put into shock trauma for 7 weeks, does recover 8 years later, all for $150. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But, there were many times when I was playing, thank you, man, I don't think Liberty is back with him, is he? I don't think he is. If he's back with Billy, I would be blown away. But I don't think he is. I don't know. Now, my friend Crystal Talaferro plays with Billy Joel, and she's always posting, they're playing this gig and they're playing that gig. I would love it if Liberty was back with that. Because, look, the thing about being a hired gun is you're at the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. When you come off of that, it's the lowest of lows. And when you come off and you don't get the call, because ultimately sometimes they don't even you don't even get a call saying you're fired. You just don't get called. They just, when it's time to start back up again, they just don't call you. They call somebody else, and you have to find out from your fellow amigos. Hey, did you get the call? No, they didn't call me. What? Really? So it can be heartbreaking. That's my thoughts on that. But we were talking about, so this kid got his stuff stolen in Nashville, right? So I reach out to him on Facebook, and I said, hey, man, I understand your stuff's been stolen. I can help you out. I got a guitar a Strat you can have, And he said, oh, man, thanks. I'll meet you wherever. So I met him at the local Sam Ash, and I actually even had a extra pedal board and some MXR, just basic pedals, because when I was out on the road with one of those artists, we had an MXR Dunlop deal. So they would send us whatever we wanted. I could say, send me this, send me that. So I had a bunch of stuff, right? And so I put together enough pedals for a pedal board, threw some Velcro in the bag, pedal train, pedal board, a case, the whole thing, and some patch cables. So here, dude, here's basically what you need, okay? Yeah, I am glad that they reconciled. Yeah, Liberty wrote a book, exactly. But, so I gave him all that. Welcome from the mighty ATL, Dwayne Jones. What's happening, brother? What's happening? So this guy, I give him a pedal board and pedals. I give him a guitar because his stuff's been stolen. I mean, he lost everything, right? So I'm thinking, look, dude, if you can borrow an amp, you've got this guitar now, you've got pedals, you can get back to work, right? So, funny thing is, about a week later, my phone's ringing, and it's him, and I'm like, and I'm on my way to a gig, I'm hustling, I'm driving down the road. Hello, I'm from Morocco. All right, thank you, Morocco. Glad to have you here. So this guy calls me. He goes, hey, man, do you have an amp I can borrow? I'm just like, dude, I gave you a guitar. I didn't even say it. I just said, nah, bro, nah, I can't. Because I was expecting the next call I would receive from him would be, hey, man, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for helping me out. And, he called and wanted me to give him an amp. Now, in theory, I could have given him an amp, but now I'm glad I didn't give him an amp, because about 3 or 4 months before I came down here, Quilter amps. Yes, Jack, love them. Been watching your channel for a few weeks. Enjoy the stories and wisdom. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. So this guy, right, all of a sudden on Instagram, some random kid sends me a picture of my guitar that I had given this kid. And it was personalized. It was something that I had designed, with my guy that built guitars for me. And he sends me this picture. Hey man, I just bought this guitar off this guy. What pickups are in it? And I'm like, I gave that to a guy because his guitar was stolen and he had nothing. And now you're telling me that rather than calling me up and going, hey man, I'm back on my feet, I want to give you your guitar back or something, he sells it to a kid. And the kid is like asking me what pickups are in it. And I'm just like, dude, are you serious? Like, I reach out to help this kid out, and now he's just selling it to some random dude, you know? And he's, well, I just wanted to know what pickups are in it. So I said, look, here's the pickups in it. Are you happy? You know? So I go and I look. Yeah, I looked at guitars generally turn up in a pawn shop. Well, that's true. But, yeah, he could have. But this guy that I had helped out, he has now turned out to be just weirdo, new age, yoga in front of a gong with burning, sage and some, it's like he's not even playing gigs. I don't even know what he's doing, but it's a crazy, crazy world out there. Yeah, he's a fake hippie. Let's be real. There are no real hippies anymore, right? I tell you what, living in Florida is gonna up my aqua intake, right? Whew, we're having a good Sunday chill musician chat. We were talking about the Hired Gun documentary, and I'll get back to that. So, Hired Gun is a documentary that talks about being a hired gun on the road with artists. Bill Peters is currently touring TM. The dude must have been from California, land of fruits and nuts. He was nutty. Shipping free to Morocco and without customs duties. I do not know 24. I do not know. You would have to click on the site and see what they say. Give it a shot. You can certainly, if anybody out there, and I know a lot of people, everybody shops on Amazon. It's just too darn convenient. In the description of my regular videos, there is a link to Amazon. If you need diapers, if you need orange juice, whatever, if you use my link, it helps this channel out, and it doesn't cost you anything, and Amazon kicks me a couple cents. It's like pennies, but you know what? It all helps, right? So that's a way that you can help the channel out and keep me going, right? So we're talking about Hired Gun, and that is a documentary. But the story of Liberty DeVito, the drummer for Billy Joel, it's a heartbreaking story because he was an incredible drummer. Like, he was the first guy that I saw that was just, look, Billy Joel is kind of, thank you, 24, thank you. He was the first drummer that I ever saw that I'm like, look at that guy, like, oh my God, he was, because look, you think of Billy Joel, and you think of him, he's kind of like a lounge act, right? It's very, Planet, use the house logic, everyone lies, okay? So, Liberty DeVito was this amazing, amazing drummer, and he provided the edge that Billy Joel's music needed. He was a beast, dude. Back in the day, and he's still, if you go on Drumeo, he did some recent clips where he showed playing some Billy Joel parts, and he's still just whacking, man. There's something about, those boomer drummers. There's something about, the Gen X guys where they're just hard hitting, just like machines, right? And I don't see the same impact. I can't really think like Greta Van Fleet, drummer. Is he a hard hitter? I don't really know. I mean, even like a guy like Stuart Copeland, had so much finesse and all those chops. But man, he's back there beating the heck out of the things. Eric, what's happening? Oh man, food poisoning sucks. Doug Stagmeyer got Liberty into the band, dude. So this is another thing, man. The thing about being a hired gun is it can be heartbreaking. So yeah, Liberty and Kenny Aronoff are two guys that hit hard. So Doug Stegmeyer was the bass player for Billy Joel, and him and Liberty were an incredible rhythm section. Doug Stegmeyer was one of those bass players that just play. I mean, Billy Joel's stuff is not easy. There's a lot of chord changes in there. Billy Joel can play, man, and he can sing, right? And so, yeah, Tommy Lee hits as well. So, Stegmeyer, like those both Liberty and both Doug were just heartbroken when Billy decided to go in a different direction. And look, that is what you're told when an artist all of a sudden just says, and it's like a baseball team, or a football team. You want to see your same guys, on the field, but eventually one day the coach just goes, I think we need some fresh blood in here, and they ship you off to another team, and you're like heartbroken because you're like, man, that was my guy. I talk about I got a video that yes, Doug shot himself. But look, those guys were what I call deep in their cups at that point in time. I can't speak for Liberty, but everybody said, Doug had been through a lot, and you take it. You're at the highest of highs on the road. You're at the pinnacle of success. The crowd is cheering. Every girl is like this. Oh, just even being a band member, being a hired gun, and to have that all taken away, and then those, look, when you get off stage, you're in one of these bands. The hardest thing is to come down off of that show, man. And that is why the booze it just comes in like a ton of bricks, and anything else that they're messing around with. They do something to come up for the show, and then they're going to do something to bring themselves down afterwards, and the booze is just part of it. I mean, you've got a rider. If you're a big artist like that, there's a concert rider. The star decides to fire the band. It's heartbreaking for the fans, and it's heartbreaking for the artist. I get why the artist has to make a change. I get why, I was let go. I said booze, but boobs are out there. They're out there if you're a hired gun. I get why an artist makes a change. I get why the artist made a change, when I was let go a few times. I get it. But it's still heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for the fans, because you have people, the next week I'm at home, and I got people, hey, I just went and saw your boss, and you weren't on stage, and man, I was bummed, and it wasn't the same, and I was like, what do I do? Sorry, but it's not my circus anymore. I'm not in the circus. They got a new trapeze artist. They got a new lion tamer. So that documentary, Hired Gun, is worth watching for anybody that's a musician, anybody that wants to be a sideman. It's tough in Nashville. Absolutely right, Bill Peters. Too many bro country shows, man. So, look, I'm not, like I said many times, Richard hung himself. I don't remember. Richard, who? I've lost track of a conversation, and I'm sure when people watch these replays, it's difficult because they can't see the chat. And I'm still learning here on Facebook, but it's heartbreaking for the hired gun. It's heartbreaking for the it's heartbreaking for the it's just for the fans. I can remember, I did a whole video on this, and it's probably gonna maybe come out this week. But the greatest live guitar performance I ever saw, because it was shredding or anything like that, but just tasteful, incredible, just, impeccable playing over difficult songs, but songs that everybody knows. It was Steely Dan. It was the first year they went out after they had that hiatus through the whole 80s and then decided they were going to go out on the road. That guitar player blew my mind. He blew my mind. And I was like, this is the guy. Like, I was going to be like, I'm going to listen to this guy. I'm going to study everything. I was like, this is the guy I'm going to follow, like, for the next 5 years. Like, when you're a player, you're searching for that. I found Jimi Hendrix, and I'm like, this is my guy. And I listened to everything I could get my hands on. Yes, they use hired guns like crazy. And yeah, Don Felder is another example. Incredible player. And to me, they're not the same without him. And when I went back to see Steely Dan the next season, thinking I was going to see that same guitar player, no, Larry's filled in a little bit, but he generally doesn't play live with them. The next year when I went back to see Steely Dan, that guitar player wasn't there. And I was bummed. And it wasn't the same. And it wasn't as good for me. No, it wasn't Skunk Baxter. I'm talking about Steely Dan in the like 90s when they first came back, when they first like decided, hey, we can go out and play our hits. Don Henley, I don't even want to comment on that. He's got a lot of lawyers out there. He's probably, as soon as you mention his name, it's probably like, they're listening, bro. They're listening. But, being a hired gun is one of the toughest jobs that you can do. And you get all of the benefits, third eye, yeah. You get all the benefits of, being the artist, minus the access to the purse strings and minus access to having control over when you leave. Sammy doing Evie True with Joe Satriani on guitar. All right, so here's something I'll touch on. Sammy is wanting to probably be one of the, probably the last tour Sammy might do. I mean, the dude's 76 years old or something? And I talked about this in the other live stream. I think Satriani, yeah, he's not Eddie Van Halen. Nobody is. But there are some kids. There's a Jacob DeRaps. He's been posting. He's from Canada. Man, that guy is incredible. He plays all the Eddie Van Halen stuff. It's Sammy's last hurrah. And look, it comes down to who can put the butts in the seats. So they go, Hagar, Anthony, Bonham, Satriani. That's almost 3 headliners, right? Or names, 4 big names. That is going to sell tickets. So to Sammy, it doesn't matter that Satriani is not playing the solos exactly right. Yes, Glenn Campbell was a great player. Jacob is great. Yeah, he has the feel. He has the feel. Jacob DeRaps. If you want to listen to a kid play Van Halen, he's got that early feel, and it takes youth to emulate that. And once that youth is gone, I mean, Eddie Van Halen was great. His last show at the Hollywood Bowl, but it was a little different. Phil X could do it, yeah. But then that Jacob DeRaps, it's like almost like it seems like it's all he does is play Van Halen. Thank you, Matthew. Cheers from the UK. Man, I just love that we've got so many people. I had a guy from Morocco on here. We've got a guy from the UK. We've got the X5 podcast in the house. We've got a cool-ass group of people. Do you think they're using the EVH tribute excuse as a way to go after money? Absolutely. But it's all about money, man. Now, I know Sammy doesn't really need it. But, he's probably looking to get his family set up. Kansas Earl. Yes, indeed. He doesn't need the money. But, he's got generations of kids. He's got a son. He's got daughters. He's got his wife. And he's got his businesses and stuff. And these people, look. And then the other thing is this. Times have changed, bro. Sammy's richer. Van Halen times have changed. Yeah, Van Halen times have changed, bro. You're absolutely right. But the guitar players and musicians that like my channel, they love Van Halen, and I love them too. So we'll continue to talk about it for a second, but it comes down to putting butts in the seats. That's why Satriani's there. That's why Michael Anthony's there. That's why Jason Bonham is there. Look, they could have got a better drummer than Jason Bonham. He's great, but they could have gotten some kid, and they could have gotten 3 kids out there with Sammy Hagar and played Van Halen with a youthful backing band. But the names, are not going to put butts in the seats, So that's why Satriani's there. Have a little water. How's everybody doing out there? We got the UK in the house. We got Kansas in the house. You were talking road gigs. What were some red flags that would make you turn down the gig, out the music money, or hang? Okay. I'd say the number one red flag, and it's a red flag that I ignored, is turnaround. If you see that there's a lot of turnaround on a gig, if you see that they're going through a lot of players, you've got to question what's going on here. Not everybody is a jerk. Not everybody, look, things can get crazy out there. And, I wouldn't want to be, for one, I wouldn't want to do a bus tour right now. I don't mind that Zach's playing Dimebag parts. Everybody, you can't expect Zach Wild to be, Dimebag. And I'm a huge Dimebag fan. I like Dimebag better than Zach. But Zach is the perfect guy to play that parts. They were buddies. He's got the Viking beard, he's the guy, right? But what were we talking about before? What was I saying before? Because I get distracted. I'm good at bouncing off all these ideas, but sometimes I'll lose my train of thought. Okay, we were talking about red flags. The red flags of being on the road. The Beat Tour looks cool, yes. Red flags. The number one red flag is turnaround. And if you see they're going through a lot of players, I will go. If you were to call me and say, we got this road gig, it's this artist or whatever, I will go back and I'll watch live clips. And I'll watch multiple live clips, like over the years. And I'll go, well, where's this guitar player? Where's this guitar player? And where's this guitar player? Like, if there's that many guys coming and going, that is a red flag. The other red flag would be any deference or any money stuff, any weird money stuff. I wouldn't want to be out there with somebody that was extremely strict as far as rules. Now, I've heard in the past that there were artists that would have this list of rules, and you couldn't talk to the fans. You couldn't sign an autograph. You had to wear a shirt at soundcheck that says, "Hi, my name is Brad. How may I help you today?" Like, you were basically a servant to everybody. Now look, I believe number one rule, always be nice to the sound crew, the stage hands, all of those guys. Those guys work harder than any musician alive. Those guys have it tough. If you want to make sure that your guitar is in the mix, be nice to the sound guy. Number one rule. Be quiet during sound check, right? Be nice will get you very far. At sound check, don't noodle. Don't play anything, right? Don't play anything until they go, guitar, stage right. Then play and play exactly enough for them to get a tone. Play some chords, play some single notes, give him a couple of your tones, and then he'll move on. And when they move on to the next player, be completely silent. That's the number one thing you can do. But I wouldn't want to play for an artist that had a stack of rules like that. Look, if I'm walking by the gate to get on the bus, and some little kids goes, "You're my favorite guitar player. Will you sign this?" And I'm not allowed to sign this poor little kid's autograph. Um, i- that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. But some of these artists are very strict. Some of them are very strict. Now, the other extreme would be if it's too crazy. If the camp is just too crazy, too wild, I wouldn't. That would be something. Will you ever do a live stream where you critique user tunes? Gypsy. Okay, so we had somebody ask. Honey, not vinegar. Yes, had somebody ask, will I critique people's tunes? You know, I think another YouTuber is like charging people to critique their playing or something like that. Stony J, I'm planning on moving to Nashville in the fall. All the best to you. All the best to you, Stony. Um, I'm at the opinion now, one where who am I? Who am I to judge? You know, um, everybody is valid. Spectre Sound. Yeah, I don't know. Um, everybody is, you know, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has different ears. I have somebody in the comments the other day. They were checking out one of my previous bands. They go, "Oh, it's a really good song. Too bad the mix is terrible." I'm like, well, I mean, I listened to it. I approved the mix. I didn't mix it. I approved it, and I was at the mastering session, and the mastering engineer was cool with it, and he mastered it. So my reply is, well, everybody hears different. Everybody listens on different speakers, and everybody wants to hear different things. I was at this very house for Christmas, and there was an old guy here, and he was talking about, if I come back, in a second life, I'm gonna come back as a sound engineer, and I'm gonna mix the football games, and I'm gonna make sure the voice is louder than the crowd, and this and that. And I said, well, you can come back as a sound engineer, but mixing to TV is extremely hard. And, they might want the crowd noise because it creates excitement. I mean, when you're watching a football game and you hear the crowd go wild, it makes you get excited, right? And so everybody wants to hear different things. Everybody likes different stuff. So what I might not like, well, I have the news, baby. Yeah. So, everybody wants to hear different things. I wouldn't critique others. You may crush the Yeah, I mean, I used to be really opinionated about stuff, and I would just flat out tell people, and I wouldn't pull any punches, and I was that guy. But now I'm a lot milder in my older age, right? And I see validity in anything, in anybody even trying. I'm not going to critique somebody. I always hated when our bass would noodle during sound check when it wasn't time for bass check. Yeah, that's noodling during sound check is a complete amateur move. And now that's something where I'd tell them, and it used to drive me nuts when I'd be on sound check with guys that were noodling. When you point three fingers point back at you. Yeah, you're right, Scott. I mean, I just don't think, because look, let's talk about guitar tones. Now, when we hear an amazing guitar sound, we know it, right? Like when you hear a great guitar sound, you go, man, that's an incredible guitar sound. Man, his guitar sounds incredible, right? But imagine, let's say, Eric Johnson, tones, amazing guitar sound, right? But let's imagine we're on a session, right? And we're playing the lead on You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party. And Eric Johnson walks in with his Marshalls and his fuzz, and he puts an Eric Johnson solo on that. Do you think that's the right tone and solo for that song? It's absolutely not. And that horrific, and it is horrific, that solo in that song. But you know what? It is the perfect guitar solo for that song. And I'll hear it every now and then and go, God, It is god awful, but it fits with the vibe of the song. So, going back to when I was just a garage rocker, right? Kerry King. Yeah, it's Kerry King, but it's perfect for that song. And I know Kerry King can play better guitar solos than that, but he played the perfect solo for that song. Kerry King, yes. It was perfect for that song. Eric Johnson or Steve Vai or Eddie Van Halen, it would be too much for that song. It would be too much. So, and like I said, when I was a kid, I went through all the phases of rock. I liked everything. I liked the Clash and I liked Van Halen. I liked them both. And, the Clash guitar tones, they're not great guitar sounds, but they're perfect for the stuff that they were doing. Yeah, don't ask me what I think of you. Might not give you the answer that you want me to. I mean, you're not going to really make any friends critiquing people's playing. It's a personal thing. Playing is a personal thing. And the difficult, saw Eric play acoustic guitar close up and he had the same bell tone. Yeah, his technique is flawless. Eric Johnson is incredible. Don't think that was because of Rick Rubin. Maybe Rick Rubin wanted Kerry King to sound like that. I don't know. I always feel like Rick Rubin is more of an esoteric producer. Rick Rubin is a guy that doesn't lord over the song and play this, play that. Sometimes you need that. He is a genius, but I think his genius is getting the right guys in the room and maybe giving them a slight nudge in the right direction and then leaving. I think that's the most genius thing about Rick Rubin is I don't think he's there every second. There's different types of producers and they bring out different things. Now Mutt Lang, is that the right name? Yeah, I think that's right. He was a producer that would lord over every note and you would play it over and over and over again till he got what he wanted. So there's different styles of production, man. I think the best is a little bit of both. A little bit of walk away guy and let them do their thing. And a little bit of, hey, that's a really cool idea. Can we clean that up and punch this or punch that? I think the best producers are able to do both. Know when to hone in and make a guy give you his best performance, but also know that we can't kill the spontaneity by doing too many takes. Yeah, the first two Ozzy records are great. What is the next stage for you in your musical career? Well, Gypsy, a big stage of my career is right here on YouTube. I'm really enjoying giving my advice, giving my experience, and my experience from the bottom to the middle. Never really, blowing up and being able to buy a Lamborghini, but being able to pay for my beans and weenies. Please come home. I got beans and bologna. Right? I told my the last one of the last gigs I did in Nashville, and they said, well, do you have to go? Can you stay? Please stay, And I showed him that Beans and Bologna guy, the guy singing that song. And I said, now, if my wife was happy with Beans and Bologna, we'd be staying in Nashville. So the career is, I'm seeing a Rick Beato type path for me. And that's going to include a lot of time on YouTube. That was a post about doing another take, and I'm sorry I missed that because I do enjoy talking about studio stuff. I do like sharing my experience and hearing other people's stuff about studio. Keys here in Isla Morada. It's just, there's so much, with this career and moving to Florida. Ain't no party boats here in the Keys, okay. I wanna go down to the Keys and just experience it, even though I'm not really drinking anymore. Now, I didn't go to rehab, and it wasn't a big thing. If I one day want to take a sip, You know, I think the guys that the real estate people that were facilitated our purchase here down here, I think they do a big popping of the champagne and here's welcome to your new house, and they're going to film a little segment. So I might take a sip of the champagne, but I don't, everybody knows I'm not, I'm not going to start pounding champagne after I take one sip, but I may. So don't go, he's drinking again, because I really don't give two craps about drinking anymore. But yeah, the career, I am going to look for some gigs, and I am going to be doing lots of online sessions. I'm going to get air gigs fired up again, and I may. What would be cool is showing footage of how you get ready for a show, big or small, than showing the final onstage gig, a sort of day in the life of Bad Brad. There is a video already in my in one of my videos, and it was like a gig with Rachel Rodriguez or whatever, and I got to play a gig with Christopher Williams on drums. He's the drummer for the rock band Accept, but I was playing a lounge gig, and here we are, we got this heavy metal drummer on the gig. So I'm like, dude, we had mutual friends, because I had befriended Wolf Hoffman from Accept, and he had actually taken some photos for my band Rap Necks back in the day. And so to have his drummer on our gig, and I had to tell him, I go, okay, dude, here's the deal with the gig. We are gonna have to play kind of quiet, but we're gonna play creative music. So if you want to play off of, my solos and stuff like that, man, go for it. Balls to the wall, man. Yes, only drinking and fishing here. Yeah, I get that Key West is a drinking town, but Fu Manpu, I plan on going down there, having some good seafood, and just seeing the sights. I want to do that drive down to Key West and get on that bridge in a convertible and just be cruising and seeing I'm enjoying being here in Florida. Balls to the wall. Yes, I'm gonna have to tell that story about Rap Necks, the group that I was in, and it was the only group I was in that got a record deal. And we had Wolf Hoffman's wife at the time. Gabby Hoffman was our manager. She was also the manager of Accept, and so yeah, I've got stories, and then Michael Wagner, the producer that produced Accept, early Accept. He was in Accept at one time and produced Metallica and Dokken and all that. We used to do stuff with him all the time. We used to go out to lunch with him. He would tell little stories and stuff. I wish, I don't know, I need to reach out to him. Udo, yeah. I need to reach out to Michael Wagner and see if he would maybe join me on one of these live things. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. Because, man, dude, I remember walking in his studio and just seeing a wall of just all these albums. It was all stuff that I used to listen to, Dokken and all this. He would tell me George Lynch stories, and he would tell me, all this stuff, and I got to do a few sessions where I got to play some metal, guitar on some stuff that he was producing, and he really liked what I was doing, because I was like, I'd give him a take and go, you want another one? He goes, oh sure, you can do another one, and I'm like, yeah. So because I was just improvising. He was probably used to guys that kind of worked out their solo, but I was like, just roll the tape, and so I was doing all these different takes, and I think he might have comped it, or he might have kept one, or I don't know what he ended up doing, but Overseas Highway, baby. Yes, indeed. Now you hear these planes going off. You've got these little, now watch. Did you see the plane? Did you see it? The plane. We had, I'm on this, that reminds me when I meet and learn that Herman the German was a regular at the store. Man, I didn't know Herman the German was, that guy, Herman the German. I saw him on that metal show, and what an interesting guy. It seemed like he was like a really fun guy. But, those heavy metal drummers, man, you got a shelf life. That's the other thing. Somebody was talking about red flags on a gig. Red flags would be injuries. Red flags would be, this material's so hard that I'm going to be injured. I'm going to be maimed after a set. So yeah, if you're a drummer and you got to go, all day and all night, man, at some point, you might not be able to do that anymore. That could end your career early. It could end your career early. All right, we've been on here for 65 minutes. I got to go back in, check on the family. This has been an awesome chat. Thank you to X5 Podcast for chipping in and helping this channel out immensely. I'm going to have to go up there and be a guest on that podcast. I would love it. That would be awesome. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Hope to see you in the Keys. Been Lower Keys 40 plus years. Know every haunt. All right, Blastmaster, that sounds great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guitar player. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Earl. You guys are awesome. This was a really good chat today. You guys brought up some great topics, and I really appreciate that because that helps keep going. That 65 minutes went like that. Late, City Drum. Late. Thank you, guys. See ya, Harry. Let me see. Can I turn it on? How do you stop this crazy thing? See you guys.